Hey gang, it's Maria here from GoalieTrainingPro.com, and I guess I may be going a little bit out of sequence because usually I try to bundle all my Q&As into one post, but I had an email from somebody that it's a fairly typical email, and just even when I started out, I don't know if you guys remember, but I came into strength and conditioning of athletes by working as an exercise specialist in a sport physiotherapy clinic, and so my job was to, after the athletes had kind of finished the rehab part, or during their rehab, was to get them fit and strong so that as soon as they were recovered from the injury, they could go back to the field of play. And just by applying a lot of the principles of strength and conditioning with their rehabilitation and making their rehab kind of more functional, these athletes were actually going back onto the field or onto the ice after injury and playing way better than they did before the injury. So then that's how I started as a strength and conditioning coach. The players would just start hiring me just to train them, even when they weren't injured. So anyway, to get to the point of the story, it happens a lot that an athlete will email or will come up to me and say like, terrible news, I was at the sport med doc today and my knees are wrecked. And so I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm looking at this person, they're a fairly young person, I'm thinking, what have you done? Oh yeah, the doctor says I've got Patellofemoral pain syndrome. A syndrome, my God, that's, how long have you got, how many days have you got, before you leave the world? So it's one of those injuries that sounds much worse than it is. So we're going to go through what it is, and then I'm going to give you a few exercises that will actually clear up most uncomplicated cases of patellofemoral pain syndrome really quickly. So basically what it is, if you look at what the words mean, patellofemoral. Okay, my patella is my kneecap, my femur is my thigh bone. So there's some irritation between the patella and the femur. Pain, yeah, ouch, that hurts somewhere in here. And syndrome is a collection of symptoms. So if somebody comes in who has pain around or under their kneecap, somewhere where their kneecap and their thigh bone meet, that's patellofemoral pain syndrome. So really not a big deal. They should just call it, oh, you have kind of a achy kneecap syndrome. Now, not to make light of it, it can be really painful and very achy and can keep you out of sports, so you need to fix it. But it's not nearly as bad as it sounds, is it? So let me give you a few reasons why you can get it. You can get it if you're tight, so the muscles of your quadricep come around and then they form a patellar tendon. Your kneecap is engulfed in that patellar tendon, but then your kneecap attaches down here on the front of your shin bone. So if you're tight in there, those muscles are going to kind of compress your kneecap back onto the knuckles of your thigh bone a little more. So that would be very irritating after a while if your kneecap's kind of being grinded onto the knuckles of your thigh bone. And then another thing to think about, I'm just going to lower this down here so you can see what I'm talking about. Another thing to consider is the anatomy of the thigh and the knee. So my quadriceps, like I said, they all come down. They share a common tendon. And hang on, I'm going to draw a little picture for you. Okay, so here's your kneecap, basically. And then here are your quadriceps. And you have 4 muscles in your quadriceps, that's the quad part of it. So you have a big long one, your rectus femoris. You have one that sits deep, that's kind of vastus intermedialis, it's here. And then you have one that's off to the side, that's sort of the vastus lateralis, that one that swings out there. Now, they kind of overlap, so it's not that they're all in a row, boom, boom, boom. But you can see how, so there's my rectus femoris. I'm giving myself some pretty good muscles. But you can see how 3 of these muscles attach a little bit laterally, medially or laterally, to the kneecap. And then we'll come in here and we'll kind of draw in that vastus medialis with the fibers running that way. That sort of makes that teardrop portion there. And you can see that it's sort of the lone soldier that's out here trying to pull medially. So what can happen is, if these muscles are tight, or if the muscles on the outer portion of the quad are a little stronger than this lonely old vastus medialis down here, it can actually pull your kneecap laterally a little bit and pull your kneecap that way. Now your kneecap is made to sit in a little groove that's in the knuckles of your thigh bone. So it's designed to sit in that groove. And if these muscles are a little too tight or a little too strong, they're going to pull it laterally out of its groove, which again is going to be an irritation. So you can be tight, you can be weak, even up in your hip. If you're weak, sort of up in these muscles on the outside of your butt, and you let that knee fall in, again, you can see muscles don't want to pull around a corner. Muscles want to pull in a straight line. So again, they're going to shift this patella laterally a little bit and irritate the daylights out of the undersurface of the kneecap. So there is your little anatomy exercise of the day. So what do we do about it? Well, we simply do basically two things. We stretch it, we strengthen it, and then if your mechanics are an issue, if you're one of those people that knees in, then we teach you don't do that anymore. Okay, so here are the stretches that we'll start with. So I always will start with stretches first and then go into strength exercises. I'm just going to aim this down here a bit so we can hopefully see what I'm doing. And so there are a couple of stretches we'll do. The first stretch will be a side-lying quadricep stretch. Go back a bit. So that you can see, I'm just bringing my heel to my bum. You can do this standing up as well, but this way you're not falling over, there's no tension, you can just relax and hang out there. Now, if it's not painful for you, you can bring your other heel up onto the outside of that top knee, and that will actually give a little bit of a stretch into the iliotibial band, into this connective tissue sheath out here. So you could do that as well. But for some people who have acute patellofemoral, that will actually be a little bit sore for them. Then the next one we're going to do, I need my little stretching strap. And you'll know this is one of my favorite stretches ever, but we're just going to do 2 hamstring stretches with the strap. So here, straight up, so with this foot stays kind of over my shoulder, and then I'm going to take this toe over my opposite shoulder for the other one. And remember, that knee has to stay straight. I can't be like that. That's not stretching my hamstrings. So even if you're hanging out down here because you're quite tight in your hamstrings, which a lot of people who have this discomfort are, then just hang out there as long as you're feeling a stretch, and then you come across like that. And when you come across, make sure your hips stay on the floor. So that's why I just kind of bring it across my opposite shoulder. I'm not trying to get way over here. So that's just rolling my body. And the next one is here. So my nice hip flexor stretch. So I'm just tall and I'll kind of reach a little bit to put length in there. So I'm feeling that in the front of this hip. And then from there, make sure your knee is really well cushioned, otherwise that'll send you through the roof. I'll bring my heel to my bum to get that rectus femoris stretched out nicely. And those are the basic stretches we would start with. Yes, there are probably 15 other stretches you could do, but those are the ones that I would start people with. And then we would go into some strengthening, and the strengthening exercise we would start with is the old side-lying clamshell. So I have my feet lined up so that it's in line with my butt and my back. And I'm just going to lift my top knee, hold for 3 seconds and come down. Really important that I don't roll my hips back as I do this. And my feet stay touching. You should feel that out there. Then I can use just a little yoga belt. Or I can use a mini band, which is one of those elastic bands that I use. Or I can use a belt or a piece of rope or anything I have at home. But I'm putting this just above my knees. And then I'm keeping my feet hip-width apart, but I'm pushing my knees out on this strap. Like if I didn't, it would fall down below my knees. So I'm pushing out a little bit, and then I'm squatting. This is a little too narrow for me. That's better. So I'm keeping that push out on my knees, and I'm squatting by sitting back with my butt. So see how my butt reaches back first. I'm not squatting like this. And the easiest way to tell if you're doing it wrong is if the weight goes to the balls of your feet, or if your heels lift up as you squat, you're doing it wrong. You're gliding your knees forward, not your butt back. Now, you might say, well, what if I get down here and it hurts my knees? Squatting is one of the things that bothers my knees, duh. Then I'll say, okay, just stay in your pain-free range. So if you can squat here, no pain, no pain. But then you get down here, oh yeah, that hurts my knees. Don't go that low, see? Simple. And then the last exercise we would do is actually a split squat. So when I worked at the Sport Med clinic, I always loved giving this to people because their eyes would like get wide and then they'd look at me like I was crazy, which I get a lot. And they'd say, well, but that's one of the exercises that hurt my knee. And it's not the poor exercise, poor split squat. It's not doing anything wrong. It's because you're doing it wrong, probably that made your knee hurt. So then they'd show me their split squat, and their knees would be all falling in and wiggle waggle. Keep your knees pointing straight ahead. Put the pressure through your heel of your front foot. So don't, again, just like the squat, don't glide that knee forward. That's just ramming your kneecap back onto the knuckles of your thigh bone, making it sore. Just go straight down and straight up. So the shin should stay perpendicular to the floor. And again, if it's sore to go down this slow, then start off by just going this slow and teaching your body the proper mechanics so that you're not getting that wear and tear on the undersurface of your kneecap that's giving you the dreaded patellofemoral pain syndrome. So this is Maria from GoalieTrainingPro.com. I hope that helps you understand what it is, how it occurs, and most importantly, how to fix it. Thanks.